I was just very overwhelmed with everything that's going on. And it came to the point that I actually stopped working for 2 weeks. I'm in pain that I can't even say something about work related because I'll have anxiety. And it makes me feel nauseous whenever I talk about her name or about work. I came to that point, if ever I hear about work related, I'd cry and I don't even want to step out of my room. I've been there and it was really tough for me. However, I had the opportunity to speak out my heart because earlier this year I got in a relationship as well. And this person helped me and encouraged me to face my fears. And my fear was confrontations. And I can't even talk to my client about what I'm feeling. But then he was very patient and he helped me out with this.
Emerge Stories is a place where, as the name implies, you are going to hear stories. Stories from people all over the Philippines who have come from many different types of backgrounds, and especially people who have gone through struggles, people who have gone through the challenging parts of life. And I hope that these stories will relate for you in some way, that some of these stories will really land for you because these people have gone through probably just about the same thing you might be going through right now. Have you ever had a job where you just felt completely frustrated, stuck? You felt like something was just not aligned? Maybe you're being overloaded or you're being told what to do and you don't like it, or just maybe a toxic environment, something to where things really need to change, but you just can't seem to bring yourself to have the clear enough conversation with the person who might be able to change it, your boss or supervisor, maybe coworkers. It's so scary to have those kind of conversations, right? And I know what happens with a lot of people is they just keep going, sucking it up, bottling it up, and eventually you just get so frustrated that you resign. Probably along the way, you talk to your friends, you talk to some other people, but just having that scary conversation with the person who could change things. Why is it so hard? It really is. Today, we have a conversation with Kristine Orbiso, and she had just such a situation where she kind of became the linchpin in her work with her boss in Australia. And I think her story is awesome. I think it's a really good learning that a lot of other people could take to heart. And she struggled through a long time where it was very painful and very, very emotionally troublesome. But eventually she got things cleared up. And maybe it wasn't the most ideal path to get there, but she ended up in a place where I think many people would really love to see themselves. So I invite you to tune in. She grew up in a middle class family in Cebu. And pretty soon she's going to be living in Australia and she's going to be kind of living a dream. So I hope you enjoy the conversation. If this is inspiring to you, please share it with somebody you know. And most importantly, please take a look at our community. We're building a community for people in the Philippines who are really interested in living their most limitless potential. And we want to connect you together with other people that are doing the same thing. So if you're interested in learning, career development, if you want to just pursue the best person you could be and the best life that you could live, check out our free community. The link is in the profile of this channel. And thanks so much for being here. Let's get into it. Welcome, Kristine, to Emerge Stories. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Eli. Thank you so much for having me today. And I'm really glad that I got to see you again. So I was
Yeah,
glad.
it's been a while. Well,
Indeed.
I think you've got a really powerful story that people could learn from, specifically around becoming so valuable at work that you end up getting too many responsibilities and then burning out. And then there's a whole story behind it, but I think people could really learn from the things you've learned. But before we jump into kind of that scenario,
hmm
tell us a little bit about like, where did you grow up? Where did you grow up?
Yeah. So basically, I'm from Cebu. I grew up here. I took hospitality management as a course. I faced challenges with my parents for not wanting me to pursue that course. With the Filipino culture, they wanted to be more, should I say, wanting me to pursue engineering, architecture, these
Yeah,
very stable jobs that they think, but
perceived to
well,
be stable.
yeah.
Yeah.
hmm So I wanted to follow my heart's desire, and I've always been like that since I was a kid, and I've always pursued things, even if I have to get it in a difficult way, but things ended up well for me, at least. Yeah. What else? I started working in the hospitality industry, and since pandemic, I actually resigned, and now I've worked as a customer relations administrator for a client of mine. So,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. And I know you took up running at some point too, right? Like long
Oh,
distance running.
yes.
When was
hmm
that?
So I actually ended up exploring more into sports activities. I do endurance sports like triathlon and long distance running since 2016, 2017, 2018, and shortly around 2019. Right now, I took a pause from these activities because of work. So waiting for, not really waiting, but I'm trying to minimize my workload and manage well my time so that I can get back to my good rhythm in those sports because oh
Okay.
well, pain is gain.
Nice. I know that there are a lot of stories embedded in the things you just mentioned as far as
hmm
learning how to run through pain. I'm sure you learned a lot there. And I think people could probably learn something from you when it comes to the courage to go your own path when your parents have something else prescribed for you.
hmm
We've touched on that one a couple of times in these stories. But today, I want to keep it kind of short and sweet and just focus in mostly on the story I've heard from you about how working with this client, you ended up being very relied upon. So the first thing I want to ask you is, what would you say you did? How did you show up? Or if you could give other people advice, like when you have a client, okay, because point being, it's a good thing to be so relied upon because
hmm
people trust you that much and you build the skills that you need, et cetera. So you became really a linchpin. There's a book by
Indeed.
Seth Godin that I think is, awesome. So what were some of the principles or the ways that you showed up in your work that led you to this place where you were so valuable?
Yeah. So first things first is know your capabilities and communicate. So I got in the job because this is one question that my client asked me. Do you love working with kids? Or do you like kids? And then I actually looked at her in the eye. It was an online interview and told her that no, I don't like working with kids, but I love working with kids. And that's the first thing that, the client noticed that you have the can-do attitude in these things because you have to know what you really want to do, especially if you're looking for a job. So first things, that's the first thing.
So
Second
let me
is,
let me
yeah.
pause you there on that one.
Mhm.
So you said, I don't like working with kids. I love working with kids.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was honest, right? I mean, you
Yeah,
actually
very
okay.
honest. Yeah.
Okay. So you weren't saying you weren't like pretending to love working
Mhm.
with kids so that you could get the job, like it was really true.
No,
Okay,
no.
good. Just want to clarify.
Yeah.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
you have to be like, because my client is actually just a little background of her. She's a lawyer, so she knows, the movements, body language, if you're lying or not. So
Somebody's BSing
yeah.
her.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I think I'll have to be honest and, go through with the interview. I was scared, but I just have to be myself. And that's the very first thing that you really need to remember. Like, just be yourself. And so I've worked with her, I was given tasks, and considering me, I've always wanted to give out my 100% in my work. So without her asking me to do things, I do an extra mile. This is not to impress her. Well, if you're in the work, scenario, you wanted to impress your boss, but within myself, I want to impress myself because I want to build that attitude. Yeah, yeah.
Like your relationship with yourself, the way you see yourself,
Yes.
kind of
hmm
self-credibility.
Yeah, I don't want to do things like in a mediocre way. So I've
Yeah.
always wanted to excel more. It's like a competition with myself, just like
Right.
the sports that I go through. It's not about I win, I'll be in the podium, but if I can finish it. So yeah,
So you
that's
can
it.
look yourself in the mirror and say, like, I'm very impressed with my own
hmm
quality of work or yeah, I know that feeling. Awesome.
Yeah. And then
Can,
lately she challenged me to do
real quick, just
some hard time. Yeah,
sorry, just
go ahead.
going back, can you give an
Mhm.
example of something that at least just one thing that comes to mind where you saw an opportunity, where you saw something that needed to be done that you weren't asked to do, and then you went and found a way to do it, or you did something outside of what you're asked to do?
Yeah. So she has businesses and I'm handling these businesses and this is a dance school. So I have to make a poster of their ballet performance. So instead of making just a poster, I added these brochures. Aside from the poster, brochures, there's a video clip that I add as well with sounds and music. So she was like, "Oh, I did not ask you to do this, but I'm really happy that you can work on these things." And she just gave me a theme, an idea, and I guess I did impress her that much. So yeah, we went through all of those, posted it in social media, and she was really happy. So that started the load of work that's coming in. So yeah.
Nice. Love it. That is a rare thing to see when people ask themselves, like, huh, I wonder what else could go along with what I'm doing, and just take a chance and do a little extra.
Mm-hmm.
Even if
Yeah.
the thing you did isn't what's needed, it just shows so much initiative and kind of thinking that's unusual. So that's amazing. Great.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, keep going. You were gonna do.
Yeah, aside from that, yeah, you mentioned about initiative. I always try to put myself in, as a business owner. If I am the business owner, what else can I do to make my business go well? So I wanted the business to improve. So I wanted to do this and do that. So I'm putting myself in her shoes. If I can improve this, then I guess this will really help in, getting sales, getting people to be hyped up and watch the performance itself. So yeah,
Right.
the discipline as well. So do you want me to go
I'm sure. Yeah.
or yeah.
Whatever else you think, whatever
Hmm.
led you to the point where you're, so
Yeah.
so trusted.
Yeah. So the discipline, she's very meticulous in things that she wants to do. And you have to be disciplined in whatever, set boundaries on what you can do and to make the business work well. I've also wanted to point out taking accountability. I made a very big mistake in this concert. I sent out a card that has the bank details of one parent and set it out to 200 emails. So the
Whoa.
whole community. And I thought that I'm gonna lose my job the next day. I cried because I don't know what to do. So first things first is try to clear up your mind, do whatever is needed. So I tried to contact the card owner, told her everything. And then I contacted as well my boss. And then she was furious because that's the first thing that happened and it was a very big mistake. I cried over it, but she was really helpful. She told me just do this and just do that. And yeah, I thought that I won't be able to move forward because I am a very emotional person. And she was the first person to tell me that it has happened already. Let's not cry over spilled milk because we can only move
In the past,
forward.
right? Yeah.
Yes. So taking accountability, I guess she saw me, you have to apologize and take responsibility of what you've done, not wash your hands and
And
just
you
like,
proactively went
yeah.
and you like
Mhm.
a lot of times in situations like that, people who are in support roles wouldn't go and contact people directly, like
Mhm.
actually take full ownership of cleaning it up, or well, you definitely want to get the feedback of her, right? But
Mhm.
once you had some guidance, you it sounds like you went and proactively did
Mhm.
everything you could and not leaving it
Yeah.
up to her to clean it up for you.
Yes,
Yeah,
true.
nice.
So I contacted the parent and she was like, "It's okay. Thank you so much for letting me know." So they've blocked the card immediately. And yeah, it seemed like it did not happen at all. So fast forward, that one mistake did not happen again because it made me realize that I really have to be careful about these things. So I guess I've gained my client's trust and she gave me more important work to do aside from just handling those credit card details.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. All right, and then sort of fast forward,
Mhm.
how long did it take from beginning working with this client to getting to the place where you started feeling kind of overwhelmed? Because I remember you told me that you were just
Mm.
getting like couldn't handle it.
Yeah, so I started working with her April of 2022. And first 3 months, I've always wanted the challenge. So I was trying to keep up, but then I get to feel frustrated because I'm the only person who's doing these things. So she's giving me tasks, quite impossible tasks, really, because I don't have any background in graphic designs, doing artworks, talking with people who are So I had a customer service experience, but it's not the same as how you manage a school. So it's more like transactional. So with school, you really have to be like
You have
be
to understand a
confident.
lot,
Yeah, you
and
have
then
to
you have to,
understand a lot.
yeah.
Yeah, with the business itself. And it's like a whole scenario. So I'm like, what happened was I'm like the HR of the school, the graphic designer of the school, the accountant of the school, and an administrator. So it's like all packed up in one job. It's like a five in one thing. And I was overloaded with work. She's really keen in cleaning up all of those little tasks that we have to do every day. But I'd have like full inbox in my email because I can't manage to keep up with work because of these tasks that has been pending. And so I've had a lot of meltdowns and breakdowns. I'd stop working for days. I'd call in sick and then I'd call in a week or two, maybe. Yeah, that's the longest, where I had a heart-to-heart talk with her, setting up those boundaries. Because even if I was paid to do an 8-hour job, I'd end up doing more than that. I think the longest is about 14 hours, like in a day, and then get up again in the morning and work again. So it was tough. Yeah.
So you really prided yourself in being willing to take on new tasks that you could learn that, didn't know before. You made yourself, you made it obvious to her that you can do so much more than she imagined you would be able to do in the beginning, right? And then every time you're succeeding with it, but eventually you got to the point where like one person can only do so much.
Yeah. I've always thought about, multitasking, and I'm always hungry for new knowledge and experience. And I guess that made her comfortable that, okay, I can give her these tasks and she's like accepting it. So I wasn't telling her how I'm feeling. I was just like, okay, all right, I have this can-do attitude. There's always a pros and cons for these can-do
Right.
attitude.
Right.
Yeah, and you really have to set boundaries with it. I've learned my lesson, and if you won't set those boundaries, then it will definitely hurt. Because again, she's a lawyer. They always say press until it hurts. So they'll just give you multiple tasks until you give up. But it's not about them wanting you to not succeed, but they just think that you are capable and you can do, again, those things.
Probably there's some, cross-cultural things going on where
Mm.
people from, let's say, professional business people from Western cultures often are assuming potentially that the people they work with are going to tell them when they're overloaded. But,
Yeah,
people here in the Philippines, like very often, are not going to
no,
tell you.
true.
So, what do you think if you could go back to the feelings that were keeping you from saying when you first started feeling overloaded, you first started feeling, maybe not the first day, but within weeks or months of when it started getting bad? What do you think what was holding you back from what were the fears? What were the feelings that were kind of blocking you from notifying her that it was getting to be too much?
I guess this comes with, yeah, you're right, the culture in the family, because I mean, I can't speak on behalf of, the whole Filipino community, but in our family, if you can't do it, you don't easily say that I can't do it. I give up. So it's more like you keep it to yourself. And so I think I got that habit, and I ended up feeling frustrated because I can't speak out what I need and what I really want to do. So if I were to go back to my old self last year, I would say that if I can only learn that, if I've learned that earlier, then I wouldn't go through this whole pain like
Yeah.
scenario that I've gone through. But then I've learned my lesson, and if I learn it maybe earlier, then things wouldn't go my way, or I wouldn't have this kind of life right
Yeah.
now that I'm having.
So let's jump to now. I'd love to
Mhm.
just let people know. All right, we'll spoil it a little bit.
Yeah,
You told me that you got all the way to the point where you totally quit, right?
yeah.
And so a lot of pain and suffering between when it first started feeling like overload to the point where you actually quit.
Mhm.
But where are you now? Like what actually happened in the end?
So there's a big plot twist this year. I did not expect it. I wanted to point this out first. So earlier this year, we actually had the New Year's resolution and what we want to do or what we want to work on with our lives, right? So I've input, I want change of career, good health, and have a relationship. So actually, I'm very thankful for you in that because it helped me realize what I need to do. And I have to chase my dreams. I have to have that career switch because I'm going through pain. However, it wasn't easy because still I was bombarded with work. I was just very overwhelmed with everything that's going on. And it came to the point that I actually stopped working for 2 weeks. I'm in pain that I can't even say something about work related because I'll have anxiety. And it makes me feel nauseous whenever I talk about her name or about work. I came to that point, if ever I hear about, work related, I'd cry and I don't even want to step out of my room. So I've been there and it was really tough for me. However, I had the opportunity to speak out my heart because earlier this year I got in a relationship as well. And this person helped me and encouraged me to face my fears. And my fear was confrontations. And I can't even talk to my client about what I'm feeling. But then he was very patient and he helped me out with this. So I spoke with her. I sent her a voice message in WhatsApp because I cannot type everything. I can't pour my heart out. I was just crying. She listened to it. I did not expect her reply. She told me that, "Oh, Kristine, you are very valuable and you are very creative. I can't lose you. If you could have only, if you just told me that you are overloaded, I could have given you 2 months of rest, and that's it. Please don't be too harsh on yourself and be kind to yourself. I'll be here and I'm very worried of you because I did not go to work for 2 weeks and I was really touched. So that was like what happened. And after that, she lied. She gave me less work and it made me feel uncomfortable because it feels like it seems still the same what's going with what happened last year and what's happening this year. I think it's time for me to step out of this comfort zone because I was really comfortable already with work and I think I need to improve and find my passion, which is similar with what I'm doing right now. But because of the boss, it's still weird for me to play my role. So I told her that I'm resigning, and then she said that this is not a goodbye. I still want to work with you. And we started looking for candidates. So it took time, but we finally found one and she ended up not liking her. So what happened was the big plot twist, she actually asked me to come work with her and she will sponsor me to work with her in Australia. So that's one thing that I'm very much grateful of. But it took me months to accept the offer. One, because who knows what I will be doing in Australia. Maybe the pressure will be doubled because of I'll be working with her in person. And I don't know if I can be at that level. Who will be my support system if I'll be there? What if I'll run away? The what ifs in life. But she reassured me that going there, I can still think about it. She's not going to hold me back. She told me that I am a very valuable person and she wants me to improve in life. So I've slept. It was just like a few months ago that I told her that, okay, I wanted to speak with you. So we had a one-on-one call. And then I told her that I don't want to be your employee. I actually wanted to be your mentee. Like I want you to be my mentor because I can see her dedication at work. I can see that she's kind. It's just that she's really tough at work and she's a career woman and I wanted to excel in that way. So there you go. We're processing now for my papers and hopefully I'll be able to enjoy what I've signed up for.
Well,
Yeah.
congrats that you're moving to Australia.
Mhm,
And sounds like you've got a lot of new adventures and new learning in your
mhm.
future.
Yeah, true, true.
Do you think that, what kind of commitments do you think you could make for yourself going into this to make sure that, at higher levels of leadership and relationships, that you'll be able to notice when it's time to have those scary conversations again in the future? Because I'm sure whether it's with her or,
Yeah.
somewhere, it's going to happen again. What do you think you could take with you to make sure that you would do it sooner next time?
Yeah. So recently I've read this book, The Alchemist, and I've read it twice. So this second time around, it gave me a different meaning of the book. So with regard to your question, number one, you'll have to chase your own dreams. So I'll be chasing mine. I'll have the courage to step out of my comfort zone because I'll be meeting her in person. I'll be doing a different task now. And just have to realign myself to know what I wanted and what I needed, and what things that I should develop and what things I should change.
Cool.
Second one is I have to listen to my heart. So for you guys out there, listen to your heart. Follow your heart's desire. This has always been my mantra ever since when I was in high school. And trust your intuition
Nice.
because everything will follow. There's always this gut feeling of yours that
Yeah.
you have to follow, and it comes out great or best even. And lastly, face your fears. Once again, I'm really bad with confrontations. It held me back on the things that I wanted to achieve in life. And right now, it's like full steam ahead. I'll be facing them because it's like take it or leave it. If they think that that's not a good idea, then that's it. You can't change anything. So,
Do you
yeah.
think, looking back at these times when you expected confrontation, like you're looking at a situation and your fear brain is telling you that it's going to be a confrontation, right?
Yeah.
But looking back, would it have really been confrontation if you had just had the conversation honestly? Do you think it would have actually been the confrontation you expected?
No, honestly, if we say that I just told her what I really need,
Yeah.
I think I think s- I still won't have the life that I have right now. The confrontation part is I'm not sure about this, but I have this like thought about there's a positive thing about,
From the struggle,
yeah, from that struggle.
the tension.
Yeah, and I always believe in right timing. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that you have to delay things that you wanted to say to, let's say, to your boss just because you wanted to prove a point. But it just, I mean, for me, it just happens naturally. I just believe about this. If we had that confrontation before, I don't think I'll be able to go to Australia, maybe. Because,
Yes.
yeah,
So the
yeah.
ultimate, but then there's this one thing I really want to point out there. You went through a considerable amount of time where you were
Mhm.
really suffering and struggling, and you're, you know, wrestling inside with your desire to speak your mind and set different agreements, change something you knew you didn't feel right, you weren't aligned, but you
Mhm.
didn't really maybe know how to have the right conversations with her to get where where you wanted to go. And you wouldn't have asked for Australia. You didn't know that
Yeah.
was didn't know that was a possibility, right? And ultimately, you ended up in this place where through all that struggle, you ended up with something better than you could have imagined.
Mhm.
Most people wouldn't stick it out. Most
True.
people wouldn't stick it out through that much struggle because it's too scary and too painful. And so that's the thing I would point out is like,
Mhm.
if you keep showing up as valuable as you can be, even if you're scared to have the right conversations and they don't happen as early as they could, at least if you stick it out, right? If you don't totally run away. And I mean, you kind of tried to run away,
I
but
did.
then
I
at least you
did.
sent the voice clip, right?
Hmm.
You at least, because most people don't do that. They run away and they don't talk anymore.
Yeah.
And if you hadn't sent that voice clip, just sharing what's in your heart with this person that you worked with all this time, she would have never had the opportunity to tell you
Yeah.
like how important you are to her, and that she would do whatever it takes to, because she cares about you,
Hmm.
and that she wants to work with you and she wants to see you grow enough that she would go through all the trouble just to get you, into Australia to work with her.
Yeah,
So
true.
that's the part one of the parts I would really highlight for people is like, by God, at some point, speak your mind.
Yeah.
Like, even if it takes you 2 years,
Hmm.
say it, because you
Yeah.
never know what might happen. And the person on the other side doesn't know what you're feeling until you tell them.
Yeah. And I actually want to point out why I'm able to do it. It's because of,
You had
yeah, you had the support.
yeah.
My boyfriend was really good at it. And you have to, oh, just to highlight, go look for people who can help you grow as a person, not
That
just, yeah,
so this is what I realized like during this conversation that I wanted to say to you and anyone else listening is like that's why we're building this community with Emerge
true.
PH is like when you need to talk to somebody to get
Mm-hmm.
some feedback, to get some advice, somebody that's got different experience than you, different perspective than you have a community. And I would say this directly to you, Kristine, is like, even though you're going to be in Australia, this community is here for you to jump in and ask a question or say, hey, I'm dealing with this. Does anybody have any advice? And somebody will jump in and say, hey, I'll jump on a call with you. I have some ideas for you. Or
Oh,
um,
yes.
so even if you don't have even if you're not as lucky as Kristine to have attracted a boyfriend who has the ability to coach you on how to communicate with people, that's what this community is for. So I would invite anyone listening, please check out the EmergePH community if you're interested in finding people who could kind of give you some feedback, coaches, mentors, just other people that maybe Kristine will be there to answer things for you.
Yeah, yeah. Eli, I'm really happy with this. For our first time I met you and Gladys, I've learned a lot, more like self-development and knowing how to answer my inner thoughts, because not everyone can actually guide you and, help you out with answering what you're thinking, because most of them are also afraid of, confrontations and answering these life questions. So at least I'm really happy that, Emerge is here to help out other people, not just me, but for those who really need to hear it and, try to speak their mind out.
Kristine, thanks so much for sharing your story. I'm really happy to hear. I didn't hear from you for a while, and I'm really happy to hear that things are going so well for you. I'm really excited. I have
Yeah.
I have one last question.
Yes, go ahead.
Your communication skills are quite good at this point, and you've gotten better at articulating your thoughts. You said you've been
Mm.
maybe learning to pay attention a little bit more to what's going on inside you, thoughts, emotions, etc. Were your communication skills this good when you left the hospitality industry?
I don't think so. One reason why I ended up being like this maybe is because, you see, I have a tip for everyone out there. If you're struggling with your communication skills and you don't have a good relationship skills as well, love life, then jump into dating apps and just talk with people. You don't have to go out to dating apps and date someone immediately. You just have to learn there. Like, you know, I wouldn't say that you have to speak with foreigners, but I learned from there, really.
Video calls, like just having conversations, or just chat, or what? Both.
Yeah, both
Cool.
actually. Video calls are just calls.
Yeah.
And it helped me grow as well and, get to learn different people, what their side story is. And aside from that, self-learning. You cannot equip yourself and go out in a pool full of sharks without having these skills. So you have to make sure that you know what you're doing and know what your heart's desire is.
Self-teaching is the core to everything. I think to me, it's just, I think it's the future of humans, and it's what
Mm,
learning, realizing that nobody's going to tell you what to learn, but we
mhm,
also have access to all learning. So if we could figure out who do we ask, who can we surround ourselves with that might be able to point us in the right direction so
mhm,
that we can keep teaching ourselves and we can learn how to actually learn better is, I
mhm.
think, really the key. And that's what EmergePH is all about. So
Yes.
looking forward to hearing you share with other people if you get a chance, how you've become a self-teacher, because that's a pretty rare thing, and it's so
Mm.
important. So it's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Maybe next time.
Yeah, next time we'll do this again, or maybe you can share let's do an event inside the community and we'll talk about
Mm.
this sometime soon.
Yeah, yeah, yes,
Okay.
please. I'm really, really happy.
All right. So nice to have
Um,
this conversation.
you
Thank
too,
you.
Eli. Thank you so much.